Imagine if the Bible we know today was missing some of its most important secrets. What if there was a hidden book that fills in gaps about the beginning of creation, ancient laws, and the way God planned the world to work? This hidden book, known as the Book of Jubilees, claims to do exactly that. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. The Book of Jubilees has been included in the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible for centuries. Yet it was banned or forgotten by much of the Christian world. So what is the Book of Jubilees, and why was it kept away from mainstream Christianity? Sometimes called Little Genesis, Jubilees retells many of the stories we know from Genesis. It presents a different view of how God created the world, how he set up time, and even how he instructed humanity to live in alignment with a divine order. The book claims to reveal hidden details and secrets about the early history of the world, giving us a look at the lives of figures like Adam, Noah, and Abraham, with insights that are surprisingly different from traditional Bible stories. One of the reasons this book was considered controversial is that it challenges some common beliefs about creation and divine laws. It describes how God gave humanity specific rules right from the start. It claims that God set up a special calendar, different from the one we use today, and appointed angels to watch over these divine cycles of time. In the eyes of early religious leaders, ideas like these might have been seen as too radical or confusing, which could be why the book was left out of most Bibles. For centuries, only a few groups kept the Book of Jubilees as part of their holy scriptures. Today, many people are curious about what secrets this ancient book holds. Could it be that the Book of Jubilees contains hidden knowledge about God's original plan for humanity? Could it reveal insights into how early humans were meant to live according to God's design, a divine calendar lost to time? The Book of Jubilees tells us about a different calendar, a divine calendar set up by God himself. According to Jubilees, this isn't just any calendar, it's one that God designed to align humanity with the rhythm of the universe. This calendar has exactly 364 days, divided perfectly into 4 seasons of 91 days each. Unlike the changing, irregular lunar calendar, the solar calendar described in Jubilees never shifts. Every holy day, every Sabbath, every festival falls on the same day every year. Jubilees tells us that following this solar calendar keeps people in spiritual alignment with God's design. Imagine a calendar where every day has meaning, where each week and season are part of a divine structure. According to the Book of Jubilees, when we follow this special calendar, we're living in harmony with a sacred pattern that God established at the beginning of time. But when we follow a different calendar, like the lunar one, Jubilees warns that we risk falling out of sync with God's order. Why is this important? Jubilees claims that God set up the calendar to help guide humanity. When we drift from it, it's like losing our connection to the rhythm of creation itself. The book even suggests that many of the world's troubles come from the fact that we no longer follow this sacred solar calendar. This idea is strikingly different from what most people are used to. Yet the Ethiopian Orthodox Church has used a similar calendar for centuries. Could it be that by rediscovering this ancient divine calendar, we could return to a more spiritually aligned way of life? What would it mean for humanity to live each day according to a pattern set by God? Imagine a world where time itself is under the watchful eyes of angels. In this mysterious text, angels aren't just God's messengers or protectors of humanity. They play a vital role in maintaining the very structure of the universe. According to Jubilees, angels were created on the first day to keep everything in sync with God's divine plan. These aren't the typical angels we hear about. In Jubilees, angels are cosmic overseers, assigned specific duties to ensure that all creation follows a divine order. They oversee the movements of the sun, moon, and stars, making sure that each celestial body moves according to God's purpose. This system was designed to help humanity live in perfect alignment with God's will, but it required guidance from these powerful beings. Each season, each day, and even each hour holds a place in the universe. thanks to the work of these angelic keepers. These angels were entrusted with guiding humanity. They are said to have taught humans the laws and rhythms set by God, showing them how to follow His commands in every part of life. For example, they taught about the importance of observing the Sabbath, respecting holy times, and living in purity. According to Jubilees, following these divine laws is more than just obedience. It's a way for humanity to stay in harmony with the angels and the cosmic structure God established. But here's the intriguing part. Jubilees suggests that when people stray from this alignment, they create disorder not only for themselves, but for the entire world. By ignoring this divine structure, humanity risks breaking away from the protective influence of these angels, leading to chaos and spiritual confusion. In the ancient text, this drift from divine order is seen as one of the reasons for the world's troubles, both spiritual and physical. So what if these cosmic guides are still watching over us today? Could our lives be more balanced and fulfilled if we lived according to the sacred rhythms they oversee? Imagine if there was a cosmic blueprint that recorded every law, every command, and every divine rule that governs not only humanity, but the entire universe. According to the Book of Jubilees, such a blueprint exists, and it's called the Heavenly Tablets. These tablets are said to contain all of God's eternal laws, written down at the very beginning of time. Jubilees describes them as sacred records kept in the heavens, detailing God's plan for both angels and humans, and showing how creation should stay in alignment with His order. Unlike laws that change with society, the laws on the heavenly tablets are eternal, unchanging, and apply to every being in the cosmos. This includes commandments like the Sabbath, purity laws, and guidelines for festivals, all organized to reflect a divine structure that binds heaven and earth. The Book of Jubilees suggests that by following the instructions on these tablets, humanity can remain connected to God's original design. But what happens if we ignore these heavenly instructions? Jubilees warns that moving away from these divine laws disrupts the harmony of creation, leading to chaos both in the natural world and within our lives. Could it be that by returning to these ancient principles, we could restore a lost balance to our world? What if the commandments we know from the Bible weren't first given to Moses, but were actually ancient laws taught to humanity by angels? This hidden text claims that God's commandments, including the Sabbath, purity laws, marriage rules, and moral guidelines, were given to humanity right from the very beginning. According to Jubilees, these laws were not simply human ideas, but part of God's grand design, taught to early humans by special angelic beings known as the angels of the presence. These angels acted as divine teachers, helping Adam and his descendants understand how to live in alignment with God's will. For example, the commandment to rest on the Sabbath wasn't a new idea introduced in the time of Moses. It was taught to Adam himself. As a part of God's sacred plan for creation, the angels, who were directly involved in setting up the rhythms of the universe, showed Adam and others how to respect these holy cycles. This perspective changes everything. If we think of God's commandments as ancient universal principles, it suggests that these laws were always meant to be followed by humanity, a way to live in harmony with both the physical and spiritual worlds. The Book of Jubilees implies that by obeying these commandments, early humans could maintain a close connection to God, one that was woven into the very fabric of life. But what happened as time went on? Jubilees warns that as humanity drifted away from these ancient commandments, it lost touch with that divine alignment, leading to the moral and spiritual confusion that affects the world today. Could it be that these ancient angel-taught commandments hold the key to restoring that lost connection? The Book of Jubilees invites us to rethink the origins and purpose of these laws, viewing them as timeless gifts from God through His angels. Could the way we measure time have a spiritual impact on our lives? According to the Book of Jubilees, the calendar we follow today might be taking us further from God's intended path. Jubilees tells us that God created a specific calendar based on the sun, with 364 days, divided evenly into 4 seasons. This solar calendar, Jubilees claims, was meant to keep us in harmony with God's order, making sure that every Sabbath and holy day falls on the exact same date every year. But over time, humanity adopted the lunar calendar, which is shorter, shifts with the moon, and doesn't follow the same divine rhythm. Jubilees warns that this change in timekeeping isn't just a mistake, it disrupts our spiritual connection with God. By following a calendar that doesn't align with his original design, humanity risks stepping out of sync with the order God created. The book even suggests that many of the world's troubles come from this loss of alignment. What if the calendar we choose affects our spiritual health, our connection to God, and our ability to live in harmony with his design? The Book of Jubilees invites us to consider returning to a time structure that reflects divine order. Abraham's bold stand against idolatry. Jubilees shows Abraham not only as a man of faith, but as a bold reformer who stood up against the idol-worshipping world around him. Growing up in a family that worshipped idols, Abraham saw the emptiness of these practices and decided to make a radical choice, to follow the one true God, even if it meant going against everything he had known. According to Jubilees, Abraham's rejection of idol worship wasn't just a personal decision, it was a powerful statement. He even went as far as destroying his father's idols, an act of rebellion that set him apart from everyone around him. By choosing to honor God's laws and reject the false gods of his time, Abraham became a trailblazer. In Jubilees, Abraham's bold stand is a call to reject false beliefs and live in true devotion. The cosmic conflict between good and evil. This isn't just a struggle between people, it's a war that involves angelic beings, spiritual forces, and even dark figures like Master. According to Jubilees, Master actively seeks to disrupt God's plan by testing and tempting the faithful. One example of this cosmic struggle is seen in the story of Abraham and Isaac. In Genesis, we know this as a test of Abraham's faith, but Jubilees reveals that Master himself encouraged God to test Abraham, making Abraham's faithfulness not just a personal triumph, but a victory in a larger spiritual battle. It's a reminder that what may seem like ordinary challenges in life could actually be part of a much greater conflict. In Jubilees, humanity's faithfulness is essential in the ongoing war between light and darkness. A vision for the future and the end times. The Book of Jubilees gives a powerful vision of the future, laying out a prophecy for the end times and the ultimate redemption of humanity. God's plan isn't just for a single generation, but stretches across all time, from the creation of the world to the final restoration of peace and order. Every event in Israel's history, from their exile to their redemption, has been carefully recorded on the heavenly tablets. The book describes a time when God's people will return to their land and renew their covenant with him after a period of suffering and purification. This future restoration isn't only about physical return, it's a spiritual renewal where the people will once again live in alignment with God's laws, preparing for the coming of God's kingdom on earth. Jubilees hints that after this period of renewal, there will be a time of peace where God's divine order will finally be restored. But the vision of the end times isn't without conflict. Jubilees also foresees a final showdown between the forces of good and evil, where God's angels will descend to separate the righteous from the wicked. Evil forces, including Master and his followers, will be bound and cast away, ensuring that they can no longer influence humanity. This ultimate victory will bring an era of peace and justice, where God's laws are fully observed and his kingdom reigns on earth. In the Book of Jubilees, this vision of the end times serves as both a warning and a hope, a promise that despite the struggles and conflicts humanity faces, God's plan will ultimately lead to restoration and everlasting peace.